Welcome back to McMaster University Demystifying Medicine Seminar Series. I'm J. Paul.
And I'm Rod.
We are continuing with our series based on Dr. Norman L. Jones' book called The Ins and Outs of Breathing.
Today, we'll be focusing on Chapter 20, Breathing Smoke and Its Consequences, Part 1. Let's get started. In 1604, King James I of England, a wise man, described smoking as a filthy custom. But even at that time, tobacco importers into the United Kingdom continued to thrive, and cigarette consumption rose steadily throughout the centuries. Also rising were the rates of obstructive lung disorder and lung cancer. Millions of people have died from these diseases and in fact continue to do so. So in this presentation, we will be talking about why it took us so long to recognize the association between smoking and lung diseases. One of the first groups to smoke tobacco were the Aztecs, who have done so for more than 1,500 years, using hollow reeds to smoke. But the invention of the manufacturing processes of cigarettes in the 1870s led to increased consumption of cigarettes along with all the toxic chemicals in them. Many social factors, in combination with smart advertising, resulted in the full-blown usage of cigarettes over the past century.
Prevalence of cigarette smoking. Cigarette smoking increased drastically within the years 1900 to 1920. An important factor which led to the increase in cigarette smoking was allocation of free cigarettes from 1915 to 1920. There was also smoking lifestyles reported in the Milwaukee Journal indicating 62% and 17% males and females respectively were regular smokers. Interestingly, in the year 1960 the numbers did increase to 70% for male smokers and surprisingly 50% for female smokers. These statistics are directly related to the increase in deaths due to lung cancer. In addition, statistics relative to smoking is just one part. There are a number of factors of habits involved, such as the amount of cigarettes smoked each day and the type of cigarette. There have been studies displaying that men smoke cigarettes with relatively higher quantities of nicotine and tar. The regular age women began smoking was approximately 35 in the 1930s, but this has currently dropped to age 16.
Incidence of lung cancer and the link to smoking. Lung cancer was rare in the 1920s, but over the next 2 decades, the incidence of lung cancer and mortality increased rapidly. And it wasn't until the 1950s that epidemiologists began to form connections between increases in mortality from lung and heart diseases and increases in cigarette consumption. In the early 1950s, Richard Dahl and Austin Bradford Hill began one of the most famous research on smoking. In their study, 40,000 British doctors were surveyed on their smoking habits and were then followed for the following 50 years. The initial study revealed that the risk of lung cancer increased with increases in the amount smoked by up to 30 times in those smoking up to 40 cigarettes daily. This research had such a tremendous impact that Dahl and Hill were knighted for their work. But despite emerging evidences on the link between smoking and lung cancer, tobacco sales continued to increase. Politicians were slow to act as major tax revenue came from tobacco. Tax on cigarettes can be as high as the cost of national health services at its peak. Tobacco industries also fought these findings vigorously, with cigarette manufacturers persisting on denying the health effects and even began to target advertising towards children and enhancing the nicotine content of cigarettes to accelerate the addictive process. Eventually, however, advertising bans and educational programs brought changes, and by the end of the 19th century, cigarette manufacturers finally admitted that smoking was indeed addictive and a major cause of heart and lung diseases.
The effect of amount smoked. Many studies have indicated that lung cancer incidence and mortality are positively correlated with duration and number of cigarettes smoked. There isn't enough information to quantify whether it is riskier for a person to smoke 1 pack a day for 50 years or 2 packs a day for 25 years. Carcinogen tests in animals show that the time span of smoking is more significant than intensity. Another important factor in the effect of smoking is the age at which a person begins this habit. Below a starting age of 25 years, there is an inverse correlation between age and the cancer death rate. So for a person who began smoking age 15, their risk of death due to cancer is 3 to 4 times higher at age 60 than someone who started at age 25. Findings from animal experiments support this trend too. Age has an effect on the damage that carcinogens cause to DNA. But there are also positive trends that make it encouraging for people to stop smoking. In one British study, the incidence of lung cancer fell just 5 years after quitting smoking. After 15 years since quitting smoking, the lung cancer rate had gone from 16 times to 2 times the rate for non-smokers.
Composition of cigarette smoke. Cigarette smoke contains over 4,000 chemicals, ranging from simple gases, such as carbon monoxide, to other compounds, such as nicotine. Smoke is readily absorbed into the lungs, allowing carbon monoxide to displace oxygen on the hemoglobin by as much as 15%. Absorption can also cause other harmful effects, such as airway inflammation and increased mucus secretion. Nicotine is also absorbed readily into the brain and can quickly cause harmful pharmacological effects. Smoking and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. Cigarette smoking is also the major cause of COPD development. Reduction of airway flow in the lungs is a common feature of COPD. Airway flow is measured by taking a patient's FEV1, which is the amount of air that is exhaled during forced expiration over 1 second. The volume obtained is then compared to a standard and is used to assess the severity of the disease.
This concludes part 1 of breathing smoke and its consequences. Be sure to check out our next video and subscribe to the McMaster Demystifying Medicine channel for more awesome videos. This is J. Paul and Rod signing off.
Thanks for listening.